Usually around this time of year, we find out about Blood and Guts. AEW does a Blood and Guts match, usually in the summertime. We just got done with Anarchy in the Arena, and we now know that we are getting a Blood and Guts match next month on Dynamite. It will be the Elite again, taking on Team AEW. We just don't know what Team AEW is going to look like. It's going to look different than it did at Double or Nothing. But we did get that announcement tonight. That'll be July 24th on Dynamite. So that is nearly the trifecta, because we had Anarchy in the Arena. We're going to have Blood and Guts. And we're going to get a Stadium Stampede when we get to Wembley. So I'm sure we're going to get all three. I'm sure the hat trick is coming. But tonight, the main event was for the AEW International Championship. It was Will Ospreay who was walking into Forbidden Door to challenge for the AEW World title. Tonight, though, he was defending his title against the former international champion in Rey Fenix. These two men have not wrestled one another in many years. And as soon as they made the announcement last week that these two were going to be going toe-to-toe, you had to figure that there was going to be a lot of insanity in this match. Just given their styles, this was going to be aerial insanity is what I called it in the thumbnail here. And it actually was not. This didn't have the off-the-charts insanity that I was expecting it to have. But that's okay. That was fine with me. I had a lot of fun with this main event, and I think these two went out there and they killed it at the end of the show. Of course, the outcome was never in doubt. Will Ospreay had a special guest in attendance in the front row watching his match, and that is his opponent at Forbidden Door. And what we got, the real story came, after the main event was over. We got a face-off, a tense face-off in the ring between Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay. Swerve Strickland, not happy with Will Ospreay, still feels like he's not taking this seriously. Left him a warning. But Will Ospreay also had both belts, placed them on his shoulder, and looked pretty good with them there too. That didn't seem to make Swerve very happy. So, nice little push there towards our main event coming up on June 30th on Long Island. I thought that angle at the end was very good. We also had an angle on this show, speaking of Long Island. Have to talk about MJF, who did make an appearance on the show tonight. We had another pull-apart brawl between he and Rush. Now, last week I said, not sure when they're going to do the match. Forbidden Door would make sense, unless there might be maybe some reason why Rush can't have a match on that show. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but we're not going to have to wait until Forbidden Door, because we're getting it next week. They're actually doing the match, the first match anyway, between MJF and Rush next Wednesday on Dynamite. And they made another little announcement about that match, which we will get into, but a lot of fighting, a lot of brawling into the crowd and into the back with them tonight. And I think I may have a sense of where they may be going with this. We did have more TV time. Of course, with all the positives, there has to be a negative. We did get more TV time on this show with the learning tree. But thankfully, unlike last week, they kept it to one segment. They kept it contained to the one segment. So we didn't have multiple segments spread out over the entire length of the show. We had the one. So that right there automatically made it better. But the Jericho segment was really what I would say was the only black mark on the entire show. And we got two more names officially announced for the Men's Owen Hart Cup. Bryan Danielson had already declared his entry into the tournament. Tonight we got two more names, one of which is a former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and the other one is also a former champion, not a world champion, but a former champion in AEW. And so far, this tournament, still early yet, but already shaping up very well. Still work to be done, still more slots to be filled, if we assume there's going to be, 8 people in this tournament. But the way it's shaping up, the lineup so far is actually looking pretty good. So, again, that was the big positive about the show this week. We only had to deal with the learning tree once on the entire show. And that right there is a plus. And you know what else is a plus? This is your AEW Dynamite review for June 12th, 2024. I am the Solomonster. Like and subscribe. I know we already are closing in, I think, on 100 likes or so. So go ahead and hit that thumbs up on the video.
The learning tree.
You know,
Thanks, guys.
And here I just said we only had to deal with this once, and then the learning tree pops up. So we had to deal with it twice. Only twice on the show tonight. That's still better than 4 that we had last week. Who was that? Oz and Glorious? Oz, thank you. We are all sitting under the learning tree. Yeah, super chats are open, by the way, so get them on in. I will be reading your messages a little bit later on. Here on the stream. Gets me every time. Gets me every time. If you missed it, there was a members-only exclusive review for NXT Battleground that went up for channel members Sunday night. That and all the other perks that come with channel membership is something that is available to all of you if you would like to become a channel member and join our little green world order.
GWO.
Sure would love to have you. So you can hit that join button at any time, and you can gift channel memberships to other people as well. So again, for those of you who are looking for the Battleground review, that is where you can find it, members only. So go ahead and check that out. But tonight, we're not talking Battleground. Tonight, we're talking AEW Dynamite. And to open the show tonight, we had the AEW World Heavyweight Champion, Swerve Strickland, with Prince Nana out to the ring. He hyped up his Forbidden Door match with Will Ospreay. Says the two biggest stars colliding for the AEW World title. Two absolute killers. And then he stopped himself and he said, well, more like one absolute killer in that ring. He said last year Ospreay wrestled Kenny Omega at Forbidden Door, and he saw a killer. He said no, he saw an assassin in that match go out there and get the job done. And then against Konosuke Takeshita, again, he saw an assassin go out there and get the job done. Against Bryan Danielson at Dynasty, an assassin went out there and got the job done. Double or Nothing. Not really. Didn't quite see that assassin. And when it comes to him, he's not a target that you want to hesitate on. He said he got the name Killshot for a reason, because if you don't pull the trigger, he sure as hell will. He sure as hell will. I said hill. He sure as hell will. Yeah, it's a little confusing because he's out here talking about how, he used to call himself Killshot. That was his name in Lucha Underground. But there's an actual wrestler in AEW named Killshot. So it's a little confusing there, but I would think that most of their audience probably recognize what he was talking about. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't respect Will Ospreay. He says he does. He's a fighting champion, unlike some EVPs who have yet to defend their titles since they won them. At that point, he was interrupted by Kazuchika Okada, the Young Bucks, and Jack Perry. Okada came out, and Okada asked, "Whose house?" Said, "Whose house?" And he said, "It's his house, bitch." It's his new go-to line. So the Bucks then told him, they said, calm down. And Nick Jackson started talking. Nick Jackson said they wanted to talk about how dominant the Elite have been. They took out Kenny Omega. They helped break Eddie Kingston's leg. And at Anarchy in the Arena, they destroyed Team AEW. Half the roster is gone because of them. I could think of one very important member of the roster who's gone, partially because of them. And yet people still doubt them. Even people in the back don't think that they're violent enough. So, this is where the challenge was laid down. So they challenged AEW's best in the most violent match in AEW. Blood and guts. Now, of course, we're coming off of a pay-per-view where we had Anarchy in the Arena. And we had a barbed wire steel cage match where a man went in there. Both men went in there and got ripped to shreds, and one man actually broke his leg. But apparently this is the most dangerous match in all of AEW. Blood and Guts. Feels like every fucking week we get the most dangerous match in AEW. It's a little bit of a tough sell. Matt said that this is where Swerve comes into the picture. And at that point, they they were talking to him at this point from the aisleway. At this point, they actually came down to the ring.
I am the learning tree.
Yes, the
Thanks,
learning.
guys.
You're welcome. RB65 sitting under the learning tree. I got scared there. I was like, no. Hey, RB, thank you, man. Hey, RB, I'm just saying your name. You're getting me hungry. Do you have the meats? So anyway, they get into the ring now. And he said he digs that Matt is talking. And Matt Jackson says that he digs Swerve's style. And he thinks that he's cool. He's a young champion, just like them, right? I mean, the word young is in their name. So they came down here to ask him a question. Does he want to stand side by side with the champions and the winners? Does he want to change the world? Swerve. Traditionally, Blood and Guts is 5-on-5, and there's only 4 of them. Will Swerve be their 5th man? And to make it official, he always wanted to see what he would look like in a pair of their new sneakers, and Matt Jackson hands Swerve a pair of their new Reebok kicks that apparently sold out, hands them a pair of their new sneakers. Swerve said, first of all, he doesn't wear size 9s. Second of all, pearl necklaces, nobody wears those anymore. I was going to make a joke, but I won't say anything. I will move on. Matt was wearing a pearl necklace, though. That was the joke they were getting at. I didn't even notice he was wearing a pearl necklace. He said he's also a philanthropist, and at that point, Prince Nana tossed the sneakers into the crowd. So Matt got hot, and he said that the injury bug has been biting a lot of people. The injury bug just landed on Swerve. And everybody dropped their microphones, and everybody squared up for a fight when the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn ran out to the ring, and the Elite bailed. Christopher Daniels, the surrogate of Tony Khan, came out onto the stage, and he said, boys, usually he would let a brawl go all night long, but tonight they've got a full show. They've got 2 title matches, and their opening match is a qualifier for the TNT Championship ladder match at Forbidden Door. So he needs all of them backstage right now, except for you, Jack Perry. Because your match, he had a qualifying match tonight, he said your match is coming up next. And you are going to be wrestling this man. And out came Dustin Rhodes, because that was the match that was announced coming into the show tonight. Dustin Rhodes against Jack Perry in a qualifier for the TNT ladder match. Now, JD and I talked about Blood and Guts on Tuesday Night Titans last night. We talked about possible teams for a Blood and Guts match with Swerve leading the charge, carrying the flag for Team AEW into battle against the Elite with the Acclaimed. So Matt Jackson in the promo here said, typically Blood and Guts is 5-on-5, and he was trying to recruit Swerve to come over to the Elite side, and Swerve said no. I don't know if that means it is still going to be 5-on-5 and both sides are going to have to find that 5th man. Because to me, you may as well just do 4-on-4. The Elite has 4 members. You can have Swerve. I mean, based on what they did here, it looks like it'll be Swerve and the Acclaimed. I mean, I think if you had the Acclaimed, Billy Gunn, and Swerve in a Blood and Guts match, that would be ridiculous. Billy Gunn has no business being a part of this. The Acclaimed probably will be. The Acclaimed are going to be wrestling the Young Bucks next week. I'll talk about that a little bit later. So that's the one thing we don't know. We have the date and the location for Blood and Guts, and we know it's going to be the Elite, again, against Team AEW, but we don't know for sure if it's going to be 5-on-5, they're going to expand it out, or if they're going to make it 4-on-4 for the first time. Because I'm not really sure. You look at the AEW side, and you could always plug somebody in there. I mean, Bryan Danielson, Mr. AEW, MJF, Hangman Page. You can imagine Hangman and Swerve as partners. You could always plug in a 5th person, in there if Billy Gunn were to be a part of it. But again, he shouldn't be. So you would have Swerve, you would have the Acclaimed, you would find that fourth man. I think that's fine. I mean, if it's going to be 4-on-4, who cares? I don't have an issue with that. But the Acclaimed is just, they're very, people like them, but they're very cold right now. The Acclaimed peaked last year, and it's been just a cool down period for them ever since. And they really haven't recovered from that. It's just not the same vibe when they come out. Can they claw back some of that, in a feud with the Elite? It's worth trying, to try to get them back over to the level they were at before. Because if they were here, now they're here. Not that they're not over, but they're not over at the level they were. So it's just very cold. As I'm thinking now about this Blood and Guts match, and again, last year, they held it around the same time. I don't remember offhand all the people who were even in the match last year, but they've got some work to do to get me invested in this, because just because they announced Blood and Guts doesn't mean that I'm going to care. And that's no different than if we're talking War Games, in WWE at Survivor Series. You've got to give me a match and a story with people that I can invest in and care about seeing in a Blood and Guts match or in a War Games match. It's not enough to just do it. There's got to be more to it than that. Right now, there isn't. We already are coming off a very similar type of match that had the Elite against Team AEW. And so now maybe this time Team AEW gets, their win back. Maybe now they get one over on the Elite. But we're already coming off of a similar type of match. They're going to have to really work hard, I think, to get me to care, and probably other people as well, to care about this match. But we did have Jack Perry, 1-on-1 against Dustin Rhodes, as I said.
By the power of Valhalla.
But first,
it's Vintage Coal Tar.
It's Coal Tar making an appearance on a Wednesday night. Hey, Dark Effect dropping a $51 Coal Tar super chat. He will never look any dumber than he does there in that super chat with those freaking antlers. A Dark Effect, man, thank you very much. He's talking about Shawn Michaels twerking with Sexy Red, and it's awful. Yes, I saw the same thing. Few things I've seen this year as awful as, Sexy Red, but also Shawn Michaels twerking. Now, you would expect that back in 1997. He was doing a lot more than just twerking. Well, he was probably twerking, but in a different way. All the things he was doing. But yes, it was awful. Shawn Michaels he's trying to bring in a young demographic to that NXT show, and he will do anything that he feels he has to do to appeal to that younger demographic, to that younger, hipper demographic. And if that means he's got to go out and twerk with random people, rappers, whatever, then he will do it. But Dark Effect, thank you. I'll read the rest of your message a little bit later on.
I am the learning tree. Thanks, guys.
David Thiering with the $12 learning tree. Boy, David loves that one, doesn't he? David loves that one. Hi, guys. Hi, David. Get to your message later on. First, we got to talk about this qualifying match. We got to get through this qualifying match. Dustin Rhodes and Jack Perry. I mean, weren't you expecting Dustin Rhodes to move on to Forbidden Door and challenge for the TNT title? No? You mean you didn't actually think that Dustin Rhodes had a chance to win this match? No. The hell you say. Dustin, and here's another thing that'll shock the hell out of you. I know it shocked the hell out of me. Dustin Rhodes got color in this match. Stop me if you've heard this before. Dustin Rhodes, he got rammed into the ring post outside, and then he got rammed into the ring steps. Because, of course, he did. He came up and he was bleeding like a hog. Blood pouring down his face. They worked also a spot on the floor where he backdropped Jack Perry onto the exposed concrete. Perry had lifted up some of the protective mats outside, and he ended up getting backdropped onto the floor. And that took us into the first picture-in-picture break. Later on, Perry gave Dustin a DDT on the concrete, and left him for dead while Aubrey Edwards laid down the count. Dustin stumbled back in just before the 10 count. Aubrey was in the corner. She was checking on Dustin. Bloody mess. And she's checking on him. Are you okay? Can you continue? And Dustin, he didn't like throw her, like Macho Man throwing Elizabeth many years ago. He fucking threw this woman. He kind of like shoved her aside. And Aubrey Edwards, because the point of the spot was her attention was diverted long enough for Jack Perry to kick Dustin in the dick. And she couldn't see it. But it was weird because he kind of took her and like threw her. And then she's like looking out in the crowd like, where am I? Meanwhile, Jack Perry goes and kicks him in the dick. And then she turns around, but she didn't see it. Dustin was on his knees. He looks up and he flips off Jack Perry before Perry comes flying in with a running knee strike. And Perry pinned Dustin to qualify for the TNT Championship ladder match at Forbidden Door. So that adds Jack Perry to a list that includes Konosuke Takeshita and Mark Briscoe, the Ring of Honor World Champions so far. This was a foregone conclusion. I mean, Jack Perry is going to be your next TNT champion, so of course he was going to be in the ladder match. And I'll say this about Dustin Rhodes. Two things I'll say about Dustin Rhodes. On the one hand, it's still cool to see Dustin out there doing his thing, because Dustin can still perform at a high level. He's still able to go out there and do his thing and hit his spots and snap power slam, and it's very cool. It's very impressive. He's been through a lot of shit. And really, ever since he joined AEW, it's been nice to see him kind of get that second or third lease on life. And he's had a nice run for himself. He's not been a world champion. He's not, pushed at that level because those days for him are over. But, he's had a solid spot in the company. It's good to see him doing his thing. That being said, I'm pretty sure that if you made a list of every single match that Dustin Rhodes has had in AEW, and he had that bloody, it was like a fucking bloodbath with Cody at the first Double or Nothing, which was an instant classic. Right? If you're going to do it, like, that's the stage to have just this bloody mess of a match on. Ever since then, I would wager a bet that the vast majority of the matches that Dustin Rhodes has had on this roster, he has bled. Now, there are times when you bleed in a match and it factors into the match, or it adds to the match, it adds to the story in some way. And then there are times where it's just like, why is this man bleeding? This is the way I feel about Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley is no better. But, Moxley can't help himself. This was one of those matches where I'm watching this and now we got the visual, and maybe this is what they were going for. We did get the visual of Jack Perry smearing some of Dustin's blood, I think in the form of a cross, on his chest, and then he came charging in for the running knee. But even still, it added nothing to the match. So why is Dustin out there every single time I see him and he's just bleeding a mess all over the ring? You do it and you do it and you do it until it just doesn't mean anything anymore. And it doesn't matter to me if it's Jon Moxley, if it's Dustin Rhodes, if it's some rookie on the roster, who wouldn't be doing this. Dustin can do whatever he wants. Moxley can do whatever he wants. But I'm just looking at this going, why is this man bleeding? Why? He's a Rhodes. Maybe that's the answer. He's got Dusty's blood in him. Cody would be doing the same thing if Cody were allowed to do it in WWE. He's got that fucking platinum bleach blonde hair. You don't think Cody wouldn't love for that blonde hair to turn red? You don't think he would have loved to have gotten blood in the main event of WrestleMania this year? Cody would be doing the same thing if he had the freedom to do so. Look at what Cody did to himself when he was in AEW. Look at what he did to himself in that match he had with Andrade. Now, why do you think he has that scar on his back from when he got burned? For his own health and safety, it's a good thing he jumped over to WWE. Otherwise, he'd be the one on TV bleeding every week. Oh, these Rhodes boys. I don't know, man. I don't know. We had Roosh one-on-one with Dion Roosman, trained locally at the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy, which, of course, is run in part by Seth Rollins. That is the Seth Rollins school that he co-owns with Marek Brave. Rush fired off a Superman punch at the bell, violently threw this man repeatedly into the barricade outside. Back inside, Rush quickly hit the bull's horns for the win. This was a straight-up beat-down, dominant win for Rush. After the match was over, he took the microphone. He said, "Typical American like all of you, weak." He sets Rusman up in the corner to get the bull's horns for a second time, but before he can hit them, MJF's music plays and everybody goes crazy. He walks out with his fists already taped up, takes his jacket off, bolts to the ring. We got a slugfest. Security hit the ring. Each man turned their attention to the security geeks and beat them up one by one. And once they were the only ones left in the ring and everybody else was gone, they went right back at it again. And they're ringing the bell and they're, trying to break these guys up. Rush ends up on the outside of the ring. He pulls MJF out with him, and they brawl into the crowd. MJF reversed the whip. Actually, before they got into the crowd, he reversed the whip and sent Rush over the barricade. Then he followed him into the crowd. And they're brawling all over the arena. They spill backstage. MJF, he shoots a double leg. He slams Rush through a table that's sitting there. So finally, they were able to get these men separated. Them trying to get at each other in the worst way, these two. But they managed to separate them. And then they cut back to ringside. And they cut back to the announcers. And we see Excalibur. And Excalibur informs us that it's just been made official. Not for Forbidden Door, but for Dynamite. Next Wednesday night, it is going to be MJF and it's going to be Rush. One-on-one for the first time. It will be commercial-free. It will open the show in hour number 1. So they were very specific here. Next week, opening the show, commercial-free. They were telling you, tune into this match. Do not miss this match. This was a good hook for the show next week. This was a good way because, look, MJF, when he made his first appearance on Dynamite last week, and cut that promo, his segment blew everything else out of the water. It was all downhill from there. He's the $1 million man here. His segment did almost 1 million viewers. Is his segment going to do that every week? No. His segment's not going to do that this week because he wasn't even announced for the show. The fact that they're announcing in advance that not only is he going to open the show next week, he's going to be wrestling. I am curious to see if he can beat the number he did last week for his promo. It's smart. It's smart. That's what I would do too. You're going to have this man wrestling on the show. You let people know, hey, you better be tuned in at 8 p.m. on the dot because we've got our guy. He's going to be in the opening match next week. So I like that. But if that's the case, the question now turns to, if they're doing the match next week and they're not holding it off until Forbidden Door, then what is MJF going to do on June 30th? There's no chance he's not on that show. I mean, they're on Long Island, for crying out loud. So we know he's going to be on that show. It just makes me think that they're doing this match on TV next week. Very good chance we're not going to get a decisive winner. We could get a no contest that then necessitates a second match. And maybe the second match is a Falls Count Anywhere match. And I'm just basing that on what they did here on this show. They brawled into the crowd. They were brawling all over the building. They brawled into the back. It would make sense to me, for them to go ahead and have a match next week. We get no winner. And you run it back Falls Count Anywhere at Forbidden Door and do it again there. And then MJF goes over on that show. So that's my guess as to where this may be headed. That's kind of what I'm looking at. Because if not, I don't know. I don't know what you do with MJF on that show. But again, there's no chance in hell he's not going to be on there. But I will say this, MJF needs to be in the Owen Hart Cup. That would be ridiculous for him not to be. He needs to be in that cup. It would not make a lick of sense for him not to be. Or for him to not want to be in the Owen Hart Cup. It just wouldn't make any sense. Given what's on the line and what's at stake and the way his title run came to an end at the end of last year, he should have been the first man in line, even before Bryan Danielson. When MJF came out and cut that promo on Dynamite last week, that should have been the second thing out of his fucking mouth about the Owen Hart Cup. Unfinished business. I don't like the way that things ended last year in 2023. I'm going to make 2024 my redemption year. Last year at Wembley Stadium, I was in the main event. I was defending my AEW World Championship successfully against Adam Cole. Wembley is coming up this year. This year, I'm going to challenge for the championship and get my belt back. That should have been the story. For him to not even be in the Owen at all would be ridiculous to me. We have Mark Briscoe, Kyle O'Reilly, and Orange Cassidy against Konosuke Takeshita, Roderick Strong, and Kyle Fletcher, with Trent Beretta, Mike Bennett, and Matt Taven in their corner. When was the last time that we had a match with two Kyles in it? That is incorrect. That is not the answer I was looking for. Hey, M. Mills, thank you for the 25. M. Mills was with us on TNT last night as well. Always supportive.
I am the learning tree. Thanks, guys.
Y2 Ken. The $12 learning tree.
Off is the direction you can fuck.
We're riding the train here, aren't we? David Thiering. $23 super chat. Showing some love here. David, thank you. David and M. Mills and Y2 Ken, thank you very much for the super chat love. You know, we had a great night on Friday. We had a great stream on Monday, especially on the super chat end. You guys killed it. And so far,
I'm the learning tree.
So far, so good.
Thanks, guys.
Root. LOL. That says it all, right? LOL pretty much sums it up as better than I ever could. And Justin, thank you for that gifted membership. Daddy Ugarte just got a gifted membership from Justin G. That's very cool. So yes, I don't know when the last time was we had two Kyles in the same match, but we had it here on this show. Cassidy hit an early springboard dive onto a big pile of wrestlers out at ringside. He walked over then towards Trent Beretta, and they kind of yelled at each other. Takeshita spun Cassidy around, dropped him with an elbow strike. That took us into the picture-in-picture break. Dark Effect with 5 gifted memberships. We'll get some more eyes on that NXT Battleground review. Very cool. Dark Effect, thank you. Later in the match, Kyle Fletcher cut off Cassidy on the top rope and hit a brainbuster onto the top turnbuckle. Briscoe tagged himself in before the move, though, and hit Fletcher with the froggy bow. Briscoe had the pin, but it was broken up by Roddy. The referee tried to separate Strong and O'Reilly, allowing Takeshita to fly in with a power driver or a power drive knee. And Fletcher hit a pile driver to get the surprise win over Mark Briscoe. So the Ring of Honor television champion ends up pinning the Ring of Honor world champion. A rare win for Kyle Fletcher. That may set up something in Ring of Honor. I'm not concerned about that because I'm not watching Ring of Honor. So it makes no difference to me. But if you're going to have your Ring of Honor TV champion pin the Ring of Honor world champion, logic would dictate that we're going to get a match between them at some point for the Ring of Honor world title. The match itself, it was all action. When it was over, Beretta attacked Cassidy, Fletcher, and Takeshita. They beat down Briscoe, and the Kingdom held back Kyle O'Reilly from going after Roderick Strong. Willow Nightingale's music hits. And Chris Statlander ends up throwing her through the tunnel, so she got to her before she could come out. And so poor Willow is thrown through the tunnel. She's lying on the ground. Stokely Hathaway is screaming for her to wake her ass up while she's laying there. And he said, the next time that you stick your nose in our business, we're not going to be dragging you onto the stage. We're going to be dragging you to the ER. Can't wait for that Statlander-Willow match, man. I'm waiting for it. I don't know if it's going to happen at Forbidden Door, but I am looking forward to that match whenever it actually does take place. Speaking of Forbidden Door, speaking of New Japan Pro Wrestling here, we got a video package. We got a video package for the former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, Shingo Takagi. And Shingo said he is ready for the Owen Hart tournament this year. Shingo in the Owen Hart Cup. Shingo is awesome. I'm guessing, now here's my guess on this. I'm guessing that the match that he will have, at least in the first round, I don't know how deep into the tournament he'll go. He can get bounced in the opening round. They may be doing that at Forbidden Door. If that's the case, that could be his way of getting onto the Forbidden Door card by involving him in an Owen Hart tournament match. Because they're going to have to start those matches soon. The finals are taking place on July 10th, so we're less than a month away from the finals of the men's and women's tournaments. We don't know how many rounds. We don't know how many people are going to be in the tournaments. I'm assuming 8 and 8, but we don't know because they haven't announced brackets or anything like that. They're going to have to kick this tournament off soon, and so that may well be his Owen match. It may take place at Forbidden Door, and they're going to have a mix of New Japan talent and CMLL talent and Stardom talent. So in that regard, it makes sense. I said I wanted big names in the tournament. Shingo is a big name. I still think it should be kept to AEW names, but last year they had Satoshi Kojima in the tournament, and Kojima's been around for a very long time. I think, is he still the MLW champion? I know Kojima had the MLW title at one point recently. I'm not sure if he still does or not. But at this stage of the game, Shingo Takagi is a bigger name than Satoshi Kojima. I would rather see Shingo Takagi in a big match than Satoshi Kojima. All due respect to him. So that's already an upgrade from the New Japan involvement that we had in last year's tournament. Now, Stephanie Vicaire is also on the Forbidden Door card this year. She's going to be wrestling Mercedes Mone. Her and Shingo recently went on a secret date. Secret in that I think it was filmed. But apparently they went on a date recently when they were both on tour in the U.S. So I don't know what's going on there. But I saw that and I said, well, that's very interesting. Everybody's over here talking about Dominic and Liv Morgan. Shingo and Stephanie Vicaire. I mean, that's a combination I never would have expected. So I don't know if that's like a legit thing that's going on or if that's just like a gag and they just, filmed a bit. I don't know. But that's not the relationship I was expecting. It's only a date though, so it's not really a relationship. Christopher Daniels was shown in the back. He said that next week Tony Khan has made it official that the Young Bucks and Kazuchika Okada will each compete in eliminator matches, the favorite AEW pastime. The eliminators. So we're getting more eliminator matches. Does anybody ever win one of these? Does any of the potential challengers ever win one of these eliminator matches? It feels very rare to me. I can't remember the last time the challenger actually won and beat the champion in an eliminator match. Just hardly ever happens. But we're getting more of them on the show next week. It will be eliminators for each of their respective championships. Now, he said Okada is the Continental Champion, and so he's used to having Continental Classic rules for his matches when he defends, which is that there's no seconds, which means there's no managers allowed at ringside, no friends, there's no outside interference allowed. He's used to that, but the Bucks are also going to have to get used to it because their match next week will also play by the same rules, and they will not be allowed to have anybody else out there with them. Now, he didn't announce who any of their opponents would be. He just said they're going to have eliminator matches and didn't say anything else. We did find out later in the show, though, the Bucks are going to be wrestling the Acclaimed. I have no idea who Okada is wrestling, but we know the Bucks and the Acclaimed are having a match on the show next week. If the Acclaimed can win, they will get a future shot at the AEW Tag Team titles. We had Samoa Joe and Hook taking on the premier athletes, Tony Nese and Arya Daivari with Smart Mark Sterling in their corner. Joe and Hook were shown in the back as they were making their way out to the ring, and they were having a conversation, and Joe said he had a theory about why Taz loves the color orange so much. He said it's because he's a Syracuse fan, and Hook said that was incorrect. So they walk through the camera is following them. They walk through the tunnel, And they end up attacking Tony Nese and Arya Daivari, who were in the middle of their entrance on stage. So they get jumped. Shibata was on stage. He was dressed up as a cameraman. He was filming this with a camera. Now, that's a play off of the angle they shot on Collision this past weekend, where Shibata was dressed up as a cameraman, and he was following Joe and Hook in the back as they snuck into and ambushed these guys in their dressing room. Although I still don't understand why Shibata is a cameraman in either situation, but there he was, playing the role of cameraman. So this didn't last very long. Joe slapped on the coquina clutch on Tony Nese while he was still on the apron. Hook applied red rum to Daivari, and Shibata had one on Mark Sterling. Everybody passed out. Joe and Hook get the win. They stand tall with Shibata as the announcers put over how this could be the new trio to reckon with. I know some people may not like this, but I did say many weeks ago that I would not mind seeing these three ending up as a trio, and it looks like we're getting them as a trio. So I'm not going to complain about it because I actually think it could be entertaining, seeing these three together. But to go back to a point that I made before about MJF and how odd it is that you wouldn't have MJF bring up the Owen in his promo last week, or, give an indication that he wants to be in the tournament so that he could try to get his belt back. You could say the same thing here about Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe lost the AEW World Championship at Dynasty to Swerve Strickland not that long ago, right? Not even a full 2 months ago. And he didn't get a rematch, and not everybody gets an automatic rematch, but you would think that Joe would be upset about that, or you would think Joe would be like, okay, I'm going to work my way back up and get my belt back. But there's been no mention of it. Now he's, working with Hook and doing comedic segments with Hook and Katsuyori Shibata. Again, it's very strange that you have this tournament and people are declaring every single week Bryan Danielson wants in the tournament. Shingo Takagi, who doesn't even work here. He doesn't even work here. He's in the tournament, declaring himself for the Owen Hart Cup. Why would Samoa Joe not do the same thing? Why would Samoa Joe not be coming out and saying, I want my belt back. I'm going to Wembley. I'm in the Owen. That belt belongs to me. He doesn't seem to be terribly interested in doing so because they have him doing something else that you could do. Apparently, people in this company can't walk and chew gum at the same time. I mean, if they want to do something with Samoa Joe and Hook, that's fine, but still, you should have Joe. First of all, Joe should be in the Owen. And it looks like he might not be, but if he's going to be in the Owen, again, have him bring this up, have him talk about this on TV. It's just one of those logic gaps that just doesn't make any sense. Why would this guy, the former champion, be okay with this when you have other people declaring every week for this opportunity, this great opportunity to go and headline Wembley Stadium for the World Heavyweight Championship? And you don't have these guys making any mention of this. It's just bizarre. It's a very bizarre thing. We had Mercedes Mone defending her TBS championship against Zeuxis from CMLL. You might be saying, who? What? I know you. Yeah, you. She is one half of the CMLL Women's Tag Team Champions with Stephanie Vicaire, who happens to be Mercedes' opponent at Forbidden Door. And again, Forbidden Door this year, it's not just New Japan involvement. It's New Japan, it's CMLL, it's Stardom. So for those reasons, we ended up with this match here tonight. Mercedes is like, bring it on. I'll put my title on the line against you. And so that's how we ended up with this match. Zeuxis was mocking the CEO dance early on that Mercedes does. Roundhouse kick dropped Monet. Both women went to the floor. Mercedes hit a step-up arm drag off the announce desk. Back inside, Zeuxis battled back with a quick drop kick and a wild dive out to the floor. And that took us into the commercial break. Monet fought out of multiple pin attempts and then flipped out of a fireman's carry into a Hurricane Rana pin for 2. Mercedes hit a sunset flip. Zeuxis rolled through, though, into a Meteora for a near fall. Mercedes hit a bulldog and the corner double knees before hitting a Meteora of her own. There was a Three Amigos attempt by Monet. She got 2 out of 3 before Zeuxis countered into a double arm underhook lung blower. And she missed the moonsault after that. That allowed Mercedes to hit her Monet Maker, her finish, which I do not like. But she hit her finish. And she picked up the win, and she retains the TBS title. Good match here, and good to see Mercedes getting more ring time on TV. I spent quite a bit of time leading up to Double or Nothing saying, where is Mercedes? Why are we not seeing her in the ring? She's been signed. She's medically cleared as far as anybody knew. Why are we gifting this woman a TBS title match when she has not wrestled a single match? Why can we not get her in the ring on one of these shows? Now we're actually seeing her wrestle on TV. Great. I wish she was doing that before. At least we're getting in now. And again, given this woman's relationship to Stephanie, who's challenging Mercedes at Forbidden Door, I didn't mind them doing the match. I am still not sold on that Monet Maker as her finish, though. It's just very clunky. It just doesn't look good. I wish she would come up with something new. We got an excellent video package on Mina Shirakawa of Stardom, showing her history in Stardom. We had some words from Mariah May as well, talking about her longtime partnership and friendship with Mina back from their Stardom days together. We got backstage after this live with Renee. She is with Timeless Tony Storm, and buried in her bosom is Mariah May. These two are very close. She's petting Mariah, by the way. So Mariah thanked Tony for entering her into the Owen Hart tournament. She also said that she has good news. Mina is coming back next week and wants a contract signing, and so Mariah is going to host the contract signing herself. And Tony and Mina will be wrestling for the AEW Women's World title at Forbidden Door. This has low-key, honestly, been one of the best stories that AEW has been telling, the stuff with Tony and Mariah. It's very understated. There really hasn't been any falling out yet between them or anything like that. But you could see where things are headed, especially with the Owen and how it may pay off at Wembley Stadium. And it's one of the better stories, if not the best story they have been telling, honestly, in AEW now for a while, is the stuff with Tony and Mariah. And I like how they've worked Mina into it because the timing is perfect with Forbidden Door. You're going to get somebody from Stardom, right? She's the perfect person to bring in. Plus, Mina is just full of charisma, and she's great. I've become a fan of hers. So I like what they've been doing with these ladies. And while I like what they've been doing with them, unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. Because now
I am the learning tree.
We get to the learning tree. That's
guys.
right. Dark Effect. You timed it perfectly. Because it was TB time here on AEW Dynamite. We had the Redwood, Big Bill, in the ring to introduce the learning tree. Chris Jericho. Hi, guys. Hi, guys. See, he comes down to the ring with Brian Keith, and he thanks all of his branches, plugs his new t-shirt on shopaew.com. He said he was eating some corn backstage, probably the long way. He says he knows that it's grown here in Des Moines. He said it was a little bit ripe. He knows a little bit about farming. He says you need to grow corn in fertile, well-drained soil with a pH level of 6 to 6.8. Their corn was about at a 7, and that doesn't work for him, brother. So please fortify your soil. What the fuck am I even saying here? Like, I wrote this down. These were actual words that were spoken on the show, but now I'm reading it out loud, and I don't even know what the fuck I'm reading here. Please fortify your soil with good compost if you want to make good corn. Oh, there was some corn going on here in this segment. I think when I vomit when I'm done here with this stream, I'll probably see some bits of corn in there as well. Thanks, guys. He said there were a couple of youngsters who needed a little bit of advice to make it to the next level, and he introduced Private Party. Out to the ring come Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy. He told them that if they're going to do shots, because in their song it's, shots, 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 I wish I had shots right now. I wish I had shots right now as I talk about. I think this would be even more entertaining if I took shots. Perhaps some Grey Goose. Chris Jericho knows all too well about Grey Goose. I still have my bottle of bubbly from the Jericho Cruise 4 years ago. I haven't opened it yet. That's probably pretty ripe too. Maybe I should bust out the bubbly. He told them, if you're going to do shots, they should have a designated driver. Ha! Ah! That's funny. Funny guy. He said they've been doing a lot of great things, but one thing they haven't been doing is winning matches. Their basics just aren't up to snuff. He doesn't know who trained them, but whoever it was, he wasn't very good. Now let's pump the brakes here, okay? I will not accept any Amazing Red slander here on my show. I mean, that is where I draw the line. Not going to have that. Jericho says since he was trained by the late Stu Hart at the Dungeon in Calgary, he knows how to do the basics properly. He watches their high flying off the top, but they don't even climb the top rope properly. So Isaiah Cassidy asked him to teach them. So Jericho demonstrated by climbing to the top rope. And then they crotched him. Because of course they did. You could see it coming. I thought they were going to throw him off the top, Ric Flair style, but they crotched him instead. So then they end up dumping Keith out of the ring and Big Bill out of the ring. Zay went to the top. He hit Jericho with a senton. Mark Quinn followed with a shooting star press to leave Jericho laying. Bill and Keith, they hurried back inside. Private Party, though, bailed out of the ring to the floor. Look, I'm glad Private Party is getting some TV time. Do I think it's going to be part of some big sustained push for them? No. I don't. I mean, think of all the young guys, right, that Jericho has worked with in AEW. How many of those young guys that Jericho has worked with, as we sit here now, in 2024, he's been in the company 5 years. Sammy Guevara is probably the one who benefited the most, and he's not benefiting at all right now. But maybe you could say he benefited the most, right? Daniel Garcia, he didn't benefit. Give me a break. Who else? Action Andretti. Where's he at? Is he even around anymore? Is he on Rampage? Collision? He's probably on Rampage. What other young guys has Jericho worked with? Where's this list of young talent that Jericho, by working with him and being sucked into the Jericho vortex, have come out of that vortex better off than they were when they got sucked into it in the first place? I'd love to see that list. If you can furnish me that list, maybe it's buried in the fertilized soil. Maybe it's buried underneath all the corn. Private Party, it's something to do. They'll end up having a tag match against Jericho and Big Bill, probably. They'll get vanquished, and that'll be the end of that. And that's sad. But for tonight, they got one over on Chris Jericho here in this segment. Quite the trade-off, though. In order to get an appearance by Private Party, to have to sit through Jericho shrieking throughout this entire promo. I read the promo to you. I didn't scream it the way that he did, so I don't want to wake up the whole fucking neighborhood. It's the trade-off, right? I like Private Party. I like those guys, but to see them, we have to sit through TV time with Chris Jericho. I'm not sure it's worth it. But at least they kept us to one segment this week. That's the best thing I can say about this. They kept it to the one segment, so that's good. That's good. This is the worst thing on AEW television. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm looking at everybody that's out there. I'm looking at Bill. I'm looking at Brian Keith. I'm looking at Private Party. Yes, they're in a segment on the show. Absolutely none of them are going to benefit from any of this. Not a single one of them. Not a single one of them will come out better off when this shit runs its course. It's already run its course. But once it's officially over and done with, nobody will benefit from this. It's something for Jericho to do. And Jericho in the past has been good about reinventing himself and coming up with new concepts and ideas and the list and all the things he's done over the years. But this is just, I don't know what the fuck this is. I really don't. Like, there are people who find this entertaining, I guess. Fuck if I know why, but okay. I guess there must be people out there like that, I suppose. It's always possible. I had people telling me this week, this wrestler and that wrestler, and I guess Nick Nemeth was on Busted Open, and this guy says he's entertained by it, and and Adam Copeland said he was entertained by it. Of course. These are all of his friends. If my friend was on TV doing a stupid gimmick, first of all, I probably would just come out and say it's stupid because I can't bring myself to lie. But maybe because they're my friend, I would be nice. Maybe. Right? Probably not, though. I would probably say it still sucks. But maybe I would say, oh, yeah, it's cool. It's fun. No, but he's my friend. I would, what you expect them to come out and say, no, it sucks? Copeland's going to come out. Nothing sucks to Copeland. Everything is great. And I love Adam Copeland. But you're not going to get him to say anything negative about anything going on AEW television. Everything's great. That means nothing to me. This sucks. Moving on. Daniel Garcia against Nick Comoroto. With all that body hair and the build that he has, I'm not going to lie. When they showed Comoroto and they introduced him, I thought it was Bruno Sammartino. I swear, go back and look when they first show him on screen and tell me that doesn't at least somewhat remind you of Bruno Sammartino. He certainly is not pushed like Bruno Sammartino. They showed Will Ospreay watching in the back as Daniel Garcia hit a corner boot, floated over into a gorilla press attempt, and he hit a Saito suplex. MJF was showed watching from the back as well, which is very interesting. As Garcia sank in a guillotine, and then when it looked like Comoroto was out, or just about going out, Garcia let go. He hit an impaler DDT, and he picked up the win. Interesting tease there, showing MJF. They don't show MJF during this match without there being a reason for it. So that's something to bookmark for the future. I don't know when they're going to visit that. I don't know when, but they will. So that's something to keep an eye out for. We got a Pac promo in the back. We said, we got Pac, I said. Who? We got Pac. Pac was in the back. I love the lighting effect, too. It's like it was an interrogation or something. There was a light that was above his head, and it kept going back and forth. You couldn't see the light, but you could see the actual light shining on him going back and forth. So he said that it's been loss after loss in his triumphant return to the company. And he said that it has been humiliating. He's supposed to be a bastard, when instead he feels like a bitch. The good news is that ends now, because he's angry again, which is why he is at his very best. He said he's entering the Owen Hart Cup, and he will go on to win the AEW World title at Wembley Stadium. He will be damned if someone his caliber won't have his Wembley moment and will not eventually win that AEW World title. He also reminded the Bang Bang Billy Gunn that he hasn't forgotten what they did to Death Triangle. I did. What did he do to Death Triangle? I have no fucking idea. I have no idea what he's talking about. Apparently, they did something to Death Triangle. What that is, I don't know. He didn't specify, but yes. I forgot. So, whatever it was, though, can't be that important. But now that makes Bryan Danielson, Shingo Takagi, and Pac all throwing their names in for this year's Owen Hart Cup. That's a great start. But it's a start. That's not everybody. Now they have to add MJF, and they have to add Jay White, and they have to add Samoa Joe. You throw those names in there, right? What does that bring you to? 6, right? And then we might still have 2 more spots left. But you throw those names in as well. MJF, Samoa Joe, and Jay White, all of them should be in the Owen as well. Osprey, I don't know logistically if it can even happen. If they're going to kick the tournament matches off in the next couple of weeks, he's got that main event with Swerve already at Forbidden Door. I'm not even 100% sure if Osprey is going to be in the tournament. But those are the types of names I want to see in the Owen Hart Cup. It's a good start, though. The main event on this show was Will Ospreay, who I just mentioned, defending his AEW International Championship against the former champion, Rey Fenix.
I am the learning tree.
Dark Effect with
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome. With the $12 learning tree. Jericho is he's getting a lot of airtime here tonight. Nobody loves it more than Chris Jericho. Going to be getting to your messages here in just a little bit. So if you have comments about this show, if you have questions, get them on in. We'll hang out for a few minutes and go through everything. I wrote down here, aerial insanity is what I was expecting coming into this match. And it wasn't insanity. They didn't go balls to the wall like I thought they would, but that's okay because they still went out there and had a very good match. Ospreay presented the manila envelope before the match even started. When he came out, he had that manila envelope in his hand, the one that Swerve said had the contract for their match at Forbidden Door. And he gave it to Prince Nana and told him to mail it to Will in the UK. So Will had the envelope. He walked over to Swerve and Prince Nana, who were in the front row, to watch the main event, and handed the contract over to them. And then he got in the ring and we were underway. Wild series of counters led to an early stalemate here between these two. Fenix hit a snap Hurricane Rana that sent Ospreay to the floor. Tried a rope walk kick on the apron, but Will blocked it. Both men tried dives, but they got cut off. Fenix hit another snap Hurricane Rana on the floor and a high frog splash back inside for 2. That took us into the commercial break. After that break, Fenix had an octopus hold locked in, but Ospreay broke free. Fenix cut him off in the ropes a little bit later on with a spin kick and then tried a springboard Hurricane Rana off the top, but Ospreay landed on his feet. And when he did, Excalibur brought up their 2016 PWG match in the Battle of Los Angeles because they worked. It was either the same exact spot or a very similar spot that they worked in that first match together. Ospreay tried a spinning DDT. Fenix escaped, avoided the hidden blade, only for Ospreay to hit a spinning air raid crash for 2. And we went to another picture-in-picture break, and this was maybe 4 or 5 minutes before the top of the hour. So we did have an overrun on tonight's show, a little bit of an overrun. Fenix turned an octopus hold into a crucifix bomb for a near fall and hit a backflip out of the corner into a German suplex for 2. Ospreay hit the wall walk enziguri, but Fenix avoided the first Os-Cutter attempt. When Will came off, he held on to him. Could not avoid the second one, though. Fenix later on countered a hidden blade into a rolling Hurricane Rana. Thrust kick connected. As he went for another rolling cutter, though, Ospreay hit a mid-air hidden blade. And then he went up top. And before he could do anything, he looks over at Swerve Strickland in the front row and he mouths the words, "My house." And Swerve I think he took his glasses off, like he was not happy about this. Ospreay then hits a swerve stomp to Rey Fenix and then hits the hidden blade and picks up the win to retain the international title. After the match, Strickland came into the ring and Ospreay wanted a handshake. And Strickland said that Ospreay still thinks this is a damn game, but this is his career that he's playing with. He calls Ospreay an immature little child and said that he can't hold both worlds on his shoulders, meaning both titles. Ospreay got shoved, but during the shove, he grabbed the AEW World title away from Swerve. And he placed the international title on one shoulder and the AEW World title on the other shoulder. And Swerve was not happy about this. He ripped the belt away from him. He leaned in and he whispered to Will Ospreay, he's lucky that they're still friends, because if it was anybody else who did that, he would have put them in the grave. So it was an intense segment here, an intense stare down between champion and challenger at Forbidden Door. I guess they're both champions, but only one title is on the line. Swerve called him out at the top of the show for not having that killer instinct. He said he lacks that killer instinct to be in the top spot, to be the World Heavyweight Champion. Ospreay showed him up at the end of the show. Swerve did not like that. I still think there's a chance that we may see a more heelish side of Swerve towards the end of that match at Forbidden Door if he's getting frustrated, has to do whatever it takes to win, and does, and then they can build to a rematch. I feel like there's just a lot right now that is up in the air. We were talking a lot this week about Ricochet. Ricochet got killed off on Raw Monday night. Ricochet is all but gone from WWE. His deal is up in July at some point. When it is, he will be a free agent, and he will very likely end up right here in AEW. Having the kind of match that you saw Rey Fenix and Will Ospreay having on their show. And he'll wrestle those guys. He'll wrestle all these guys. But it has me wondering if there is a chance that Will Ospreay does not go to the main event at Wembley Stadium this year, which I think would be kind of crazy, as over as he is. I mean, yes, you could always push it back to next year, but he's over now. And so if he's not in the main event at Forbidden Door, or rather at Wembley Stadium, and Ricochet becomes available before then, which he will be, does Tony Khan do Ricochet and Will Ospreay one-on-one at Wembley Stadium and save, the world title for Ospreay at a later date? Can't discount that possibility. It's very, very possible, because we're going to end up getting Ospreay and Ricochet. Not a doubt in my mind. Whether it's Wembley, whether it's Wrestle Dream, as soon as Ricochet becomes available, whether he signs a full-time deal with AEW or he decides to kind of dip his toe in the water in a few different places, TNA, New Japan, in which case he could still work AEW shots, we're going to get Will Ospreay, we're going to get Ricochet. It's just a matter of when and where. Feels like it's not a matter of if anymore. It's when and where. But I still think all roads should lead to Will Ospreay challenging in the main event for that world title at Wembley Stadium. He cannot then win the title, though, against Swerve. You've got to keep that title on Swerve. That's why I thought the Owen was the perfect opportunity for him to win back the right to challenge for the championship. With the timing of the tournament, though, in the opening round matches, I just don't know if he'll be in it or not. I just don't know. But I am looking forward to this match at Forbidden Door. And honestly, the Forbidden Door card so far is shaping up pretty damn well. You got Moxley and Naito for the IWGP title. You've got, we may get some Owen matches on that show. You've got Mercedes and Stephanie Vicaire. You've got Swerve and you've got Will Ospreay. And we'll see if they end up running back MJF and Rush in a rematch like I think they might do. And there's still plenty of other people who haven't been announced, but you have the TNT title ladder match. So that show is shaping up to be a must-see right now. So far, the lineup, I think, is very strong, but we'll see. We have a few more weeks to flesh that show out and build it up and see where we end up. But I thought the Jericho segment was really the only black mark on the show tonight. They had some, it felt like filler. I hesitate to even use that word there because I know why we had those matches as far as, Joe and Hook. They're trying to establish Joe and Hook as something. So they gave them a win on this show. The Daniel Garcia thing. There's a reason why they showed us Will Ospreay watching and MJF watching. They're building to something. We don't know what yet or when, but they're building to something there. So you may look at it as filler. I mean, there were certainly quick, nothing matches, but they're clearly building to something with them. That's why they were on the show. They did serve a purpose in that respect. So I thought it was a good show. Not a great show, not a blowaway show by any means, not a blowaway main event by any means, but still a very good match between Fenix and Ospreay. Take a look at the Twitter poll. What did you think of Dynamite for June 12? 49.3% thumbs up, so we are below the equator line. 21.6% thumbs in the middle, and 29% thumbs down. Nearing 1,000 votes so far for Dynamite tonight. 49% thumbs up. I'd go a little bit higher than that. That's why we have a poll. So people can vote and they can express their opinions, whether we agree with them or not. That's kind of the point. All right, let's take a look at your super chats. Thank you for everybody who has sent.
It's a direction you can fuck.
I was trying to be nice. Why you gotta be so mean? Prick. The Rock is injured, by the way. Talk more about his injury on the podcast this weekend. Hopefully nothing too serious, but I don't know. It reminds me of another injury that turned out to be more serious than originally thought. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with The Roke. Let's go back and take a look at some of your earlier super chats first. I want to begin here with the real CS, who dropped $20 earlier on tonight. Hey CS, you are still with us, thank you. One of my many issues within AEW is the fact that they keep relying on these stupid eliminator matches when 10 times out of 10 the champions always win. Why even bother doing them when the champions win every time? You know, I made that comment earlier. The vast majority of them seem to end exactly the way that you said. There really is no drama to them. Even Takeshita couldn't get a win over Jon Moxley at Double or Nothing, which was disappointing to see. So yeah, I mean, I understand the concept. Are they played out? Yes, they're played out. I just don't like the idea generally of having the champion lose on TV, but they don't care about that. Fire Panda coming in with a bit of a bomb here. 70 Canadian, 69.99 Canadian. What does that equate to? I don't have it in front of me. It's August 2024. Chris Jericho has just beaten MJF for the world title. The children are crying, the women are screaming, and the men have run. Solomonster was a mess. He ended the stream in a panic and is retiring. May God have mercy on our souls. So now you're a fortune teller, huh? You know what that sounds like to me? What you just described, it's like Back to the Future Part 2, when when Marty McFly goes into the future, and we see that Biff is some big shot, and the world has just completely gone to shit. It's like a doomsday scenario. That's basically what you've just described. So I certainly hope that you are not right. But thank you anyway. Food Hive is with us. Boy, how I have missed my chat. What's up, guys? What is up to Food Hive? It's always a good night when we see him here with us. When we are worthy enough of his presence. Oz and Glorious High Branches. Dear Tony Khan, if you're listening, please, for the love of God, stop putting Daniel Garcia on TV. I hate changing the channel, but you are pushing me. Hit that like button. Thanks, guys. Oz and Glorious. No fan of Daniel Garcia. Biff's Casino, yes. Yes, Biff was like the big shot. You see, like, the streets are burning. Not going to say who that character was based off in that movie. Oz also says, Mina Shirakawa powerbomb to my heart. Mina loves to talk about her big breasts. She's got big breasts, and she was very much into talking about them when she did that sit-down interview with RJ City on the YouTube channel that AEW has. So I can talk about it because she did. You know, she used to be a model, and then she became a wrestler, and she's a very good wrestler. And she's a very beautiful woman. And she happens to have just large, gigantic breasts that bounce up and down when she, moves around. You'll see it at Forbidden Door, when she's wrestling around. It's hard to keep those things, sheltered. Without them popping out. But she was very open talking about her anatomy when she did that interview. I'm just saying. She's a hell of a lady. RB065. What do you think of the Owen Hart tournament so far? I like Shingo in it and hope he goes far. I love how AEW are previewing matches in advance and how hope they do the same, rather, for their venues shows. I don't know what that means, but I think that the tournament so far on the men's side is shaping up well. We don't know anybody except Mariah May on the women's side. I would have to think that Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale would be in there. Actually, I think they already are. They may already be in there. But those are the only names I know on the women's side. So I think so far so good. We have to just see how the rest of the bracket, shapes up. But I like what I'm seeing so far. Yee with the 791. First time catching the stream live. Working, quote unquote, from home today. Love the content and the community here. Well, Yee, we are happy to have you in the community. Hear ye, hear ye. I too am working from home right now as we speak. Dark Effect with the $51 coal tar bomb. Saw a clip of Shawn Michaels twerking with Sexy Red, and it was awful. Definitely not something one of the best of all time should be doing. What was he thinking? Always look forward to your streams. Yourself and the GWO always make the night better. Yes, they do. Dark Effect, he's trying to be cool. He's trying to appeal to a younger audience so they will tune in and watch his show. That's the only reason that he is doing it. Do you think Shawn Michaels knew who Sexy Red was? Do you think he's like, you know what? We should bring in Sexy Red. I love her music. Nobody is saying that they love her music. So he's doing it to appeal to a younger demographic. That's it. And he will do whatever it takes to try to bring these people into NXT. David Thering, hi guys, can we torch this gimmick yet? Because I sound like the world's worst politician. I know I would. Thanks, guys. Well, unfortunately, the learning tree, it's going to be a while before somebody chops down the learning tree, I fear. Where are we at on the likes, by the way? I need a likes update. Find out where we are. M. Mills, thank you again for the 25. Y2 Ken, have not watched AEW in a few weeks, but never missed the reviews. Solomonster is my learning tree. Thanks, guys. You always learn something on these streams, right? Maybe not every night, but I guarantee you watch long enough, you will learn something here on these streams. About what? I don't know. I never know what I'm going to end up talking about, but you'll learn something. David Thering with the $23 super chat. Honestly, Solomonster, the learning tree super chat before was my attempt to turn a crap gimmick into a funny joke. What I want to tell AEW what to do with the gimmick is off. Is the direction that you can fuck. Well said, my friend, well said. Food Hive. I've been gone so long just to come back and hear Solomonster talking about Sexy Red and Shawn Michaels twerking. What the hell is going on here, and what did I miss? Am I in the upside down? I think you are. You've missed a lot. We may not see Food Hive again for another 2 years after this. It's like that Grandpa Simpson meme, right? Walk right in, walk right out. Root. Enjoyed the new super chat. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you, Root. Esru Curse. When you look at Kyle Fletcher, do you think his mom knows Arnold Schwarzenegger? I don't know. Should she? Who doesn't know Arnold Schwarzenegger? Is there anybody who doesn't know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is? Jake Jones with the $9.99. Thank you very much, Jake. I hope you're having a good night. Dark Effect. Jordan Grace mentioned she would love for NXT to do a Worlds Collide with TNA. Well, that's funny because I just pitched that very idea last week. Like the Forbidden Door concept, do you think that's something that we will ever see in WWE? I do. I do think we will get a Worlds Collide, not with the main roster. But I think that with NXT and TNA, I think a Worlds Collide show is very, very likely. Dark Effect, again, maybe that is who he is doing the gimmick for. All of his friends in the back. It is definitely not for any of us. Jake Jones, I'll take Shingo versus Danielson, please and thank you. Yeah, I will too. Sign me up. Shingo, by the way, somebody said before they hope Shingo goes far. I don't see Shingo getting out of the opening round. Especially if he's in there against Danielson, he's not winning. So you may only get the one match with Shingo, so if it's just the one, then I hope that they make it worthwhile. I hope it's a big one. Danielson and Shingo would certainly meet that billing. Mike S13, let's go Celtics. One more win, great work as always. I don't have a dog in the hunt, so sure. Let's go Celtics. The Juliet, WWE tweeted out an update on Ricochet saying he had upper body injuries and he would be out of action for an undisclosed amount of time. My spidey senses are telling me that Ricochet is going to be gone and he's going to be out of action for about 3 to 4 years. And then he will return to WWE. It's going to be a long layoff for Ricochet. I'd say about 3 to 4 years sounds about right. David, will you be reviewing SmackDown on Friday only or also the Clash? I will be live after SmackDown on Friday. I will not be live after Clash at the Castle. I double booked myself. I have a family engagement. I will not be here. And I will most likely review it on the podcast on Sunday. So, good reason to tune into episode 866. You might get your first run review for Clash at the Castle. Jake in the chat says, I was at the show, Solomonster. Gotta say, we were loud tonight despite sections 107 to 113 being tarped off. Tony came out with his funny voice, promising to return to Des Moines in the near future. So did he scream it when he came out? Des Moines! Thank you, Des Moines! Love you, Des Moines! That's how I envision it, you know. Because he screams things. He doesn't really say it, he screams it. He's very excitable. Fabian, which women can you see main eventing a pay-per-view for AEW? My first idea is Monet against Baker or Hayter, or make it a triple threat. I think that they have plenty of women who are talented enough, certainly, to headline, but do I think they're going to? I don't. I don't think Tony's going to headline with them on a pay-per-view. And it doesn't matter what women he has. He could sign Becky Lynch. She's not going to do, but he could. And I still don't think that they would headline with the women. Barry MK with the $12 super chat.
I am the learning tree.
There he is.
Thanks, guys.
He says 19 years. No, wait, you got bumped down here. Here we go. Here's Barry. It got bumped down. Barry says, what is WWE really getting from working with TNA? It's not like it's 2007 where TNA has a roster full of legends like Sting or Kurt Angle. It's not even so much WWE, it's NXT. This is an NXT thing. This is Shawn Michaels trying to get something going, trying to, get people talking. He loves Jordan Grace. They're going to sign Jordan Grace the first opportunity they get. She's as good as gone from TNA. I mean, she could start packing her bags now. And I think it's a combination of, them, i.e. Shawn Michaels, trying to drum up some interest in the product. But I also think that, look, when it's WWE, there's always an ulterior motive involved. Because they don't have to work with anybody else. if they're choosing to do so, there's always going to be a reason for it. And I think that they're certainly, they've got their scouting glasses on and they're looking at different people who perhaps, a year from now, 6 months from now, may make that trip from TNA over to WWE. I think they got their eyes on probably a few different people in TNA. So I think they have their motivations for doing so. But again, this is strictly an NXT thing right now. This has nothing to do with the main roster. And I think that they largely leave Shawn to his own devices. I think Triple H and Shawn, obviously they're very good friends. And I think he leaves Shawn alone more than Vince probably did. And lets him kind of do his own thing. And I'm sure he has to clear things like this with upper management. He can't just go out and start making deals with other promotions. But they kind of largely let him do his own thing. And they're getting ready to make that move to the CW later this year. And I think that they just want to do what they can to get as many eyeballs on the product as possible and get people talking. So I think it's a combination of all those things. Juan Ocampo. 19 years to the week of Solo's biggest wrestling regret. Not attending the first ECW One Night Stand. Mine was Money in the Bank 2011. Could have been there for Punk against Cena. Yeah, that would suck. If I missed out on that, that would suck. Yeah, one of my great regrets is not being at the Hammerstein Ballroom for that show. I went to that venue so many times in the years that followed for Ring of Honor. And just did not go to the show. And it is still, to this day, one of my favorite all-time pay-per-views. One of my favorite WWE pay-per-views is an ECW show. It's crazy. Dr. Bropio, I'm liking this Jericho gimmick more and more. It gives me an excuse to mute the Jericho part of the review so I can go do something else. Sorry, Solo. Today's opposite day, by the way. He means the opposite of what he says. And Barry says, you also skipped the horror super chat question. Well, let's see. It's a good thing you mentioned it because I missed two of them, actually. Good eye, my friend. Great when that happens. Where did we leave off? Where did we leave off? I don't even know where we left off. Well, anyway, hopefully Barry heard the answer to that question, because I gave a really good answer, too, to the horror question. So hopefully he got to see it. But apparently that's it, right? No more new super chats, because I wasn't online. So I guess that ends that. Man, I'm pissed. I hate when that happens. That really just burns my ass. Ruined my entire night. Ruined my entire night. Well, where are we on the likes here? We did hit 407 on the likes, so we can at least end with Be the Booker. God damn it. So Justin coming in, he says, for Solomonster's new LTE backup. No one heard my answer to that super chat. Well, it's too bad because I'm not repeating it. So it was a damn good answer. It was a damn good answer. And the only one who will ever hear it is me. It's time to be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
Man, don't you love technology? Isn't technology a wonderful thing? Isn't technology a wonderful thing? Oz and Glorious, that reboot was nothing compared to the 2022 one. Was it that far back? There was another one where it was out for, I think it was even longer than that. All right, here we go. Be the Booker. Let's do this. We're clawing some people back here, which is good. At 12:30 in the morning. All right, we begin with the head shrinkers. The bloodline. You can't get away from the bloodline, man. You always end up back at the bloodline. Samu and Fatu. And it will be Samu and Fatu here and Be the Booker. Uh-oh. Randy Orton forces Adam Pearce to add a stipulation. 2-hour match. Looks like we're adding a stip. According to Randy Orton, we got to add a stipulation. We still got to pick an opponent, though. We got to spin again. All right, let's see who the head shrinkers are going to be stepping into the ring with here before we pick a stipulation. Or maybe we should pick the stipulation first. You know what? Let's do that. Let's pick the stipulation first. I think that makes more sense. And then we'll pick an opponent. All right, what kind of match are we going to have here? A buried alive match. We have a buried alive match for the tag team titles. I like it. I like it. That's not the opponent. That doesn't count. All right, we got the head shrinkers. Buried alive against Deuce and Domino. Deuce and Domino? Really? You know, the time that the internet went down and it took me to reboot everything, I could have gone and dropped a Deuce. Deuce and Domino against the head shrinkers is a thumbs down. No dice. My good mood has not improved. I was hoping for a good Be the Booker here. To lift my spirits. Women's Be the Booker. We begin with Allison Kay. Allison Kay. What's she up to these days? She's still in the NWA? I haven't seen her in a while. I saw Natalia Markova has signed a new multi-year deal with the NWA. You should look her up. Allison Kay is going to go, uh-oh, look who it is. Look who it is. It's Julia, everybody. You're going to be seeing a lot of this women. Women. I said women. Why did I say women? You're going to be seeing a lot of this woman very soon. Julia is coming to NXT. Actually, Julia and Allison Kay would be a banger. I think that'd be a good match. And now men's Be the Booker. Oh, man. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Men's Be the Booker. Kick things off here with Jey Uso. We're heading to Yeet Town, everybody. This man is heading into the Money in the Bank ladder match. Probably going to win the entire thing. Jey Uso. Main event Jey Uso in the main event of Be the Booker. How appropriate. Drum roll, please. Jey Uso, one-on-one in the main event with the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock against Jey Uso. The match that you never would have expected, the match you did not know that you wanted, but damn it, you're going to get it whether you like it or not. I like the match. I don't think it would be great or anything like that, but it's kind of unique. It's a unique match. So I'll go with the bell on that one. 2 out of 3. What the fuck? 2 out of 3. There's the Father of the Year, Christian Cage. They did announce next weekend on Collision. It's Father's Day weekend. And we're going to get a special Father's Day segment with Christian Cage, which is just so perfect. So perfect. How can you not? David Thering with the $5. Technology can be a bitch sometimes. I blame Brie Mode. He says, I blame the learning tree. I blame Brie Mode. I think that she shouted Brie mode so loud before that it knocked my internet out. You know how some people, like some women, opera singers, can crack glass with the sound of their voice? I think that's what Brie did. Dark Effects said, for chat morale, here is a $25 Brie mode. Thank you, Dark Effect. Oz and Glorious, it happened because of your learning tree slander. These are all very appropriate super chats for what just happened. Base Beerus, the anonymous Raw GM did it. Welcome back. And Barry MK with that $15 Mario super chat. I went backwards in the stream to find your answer, and whatever you said, it is cut out. Yeah, you're not going to see it. I'll see it because it'll be in the file that's recording, but you're not going to see it. Anyway, the short answer, and again, I went into a lot more detail, but the short answer is no. There are other elements that, to me personally, are important. You know, when it comes to just the atmosphere, the music, the types of kills in the movie, to me, that's more important. Every movie has a story. There's no such thing as a movie without a story. There's a story in every movie. Some are better than others. In a horror movie, it's not the most important thing. There's a lot of different elements that go into it. So that's the short answer. Wano Campo, since my last super chat was about 2005 One Night Stand, would you put that Mike Awesome Masato Tanaka match up there as a top tier curtain jerker? They didn't jerk the curtain though, did they? I thought that was in the middle of the show. I don't think they opened the show with that. Yeah, that was insane. The chair shots to the head and everything. Tanaka, my God, you know, Masato Tanaka took so much punishment. And he took so many chair shots to the head. It's hard to go back and watch it, honestly. But the match they had was a lot of fun. And that awesome bomb out to the floor through the table is what I remember. And also, Mike Awesome blew his knee out in that match. Had to be helped out. That might have been the end of him in WWE, but he blew his knee out. I don't know what the spot was, but I know he hurt himself. But yeah, that was something else. Base Beerus, Foley against Flair 2, double retirement match. Yeah, let's not do that. Let's not do that. You know, Mick Foley was going to actually return next year and have, for his 60th birthday, he was going to have one more death match. And he was starting to lose weight and train and prepare to have that one last match. And he got concussed. And he didn't get concussed from training or taking a shot to the head. He doesn't know how he got concussed. So when you're at a point where you're getting concussed and you don't even know how it happened, you have no business being in the ring. And Mick had enough sense, and his family, honestly, it was probably his family who said, yeah, you're not doing this. And so he's backed off that idea. So we do not need to see Mick Foley back in the ring unless he is making a special appearance or cutting a promo. I do not want to see Mick Foley in the ring. Ed Swoggle, should Jay call his super kicks Yeet Chin music? No, he should not. Always love my Red Skulls, but no, he should not. Freddie Got Fingered didn't have a story. I did not see Freddie Got Fingered, but I guarantee it had a story. I guarantee you it had a story. Oh, man. Well, again, apologies for the little hiccup there during the Super Chat section. At least it happened late in the stream. But at least we were able to rebound and do Be the Booker and finish things out here. Thank you for all the love tonight. It's been a strong week. Had a great stream on Friday, Monday, and tonight up until that point. So it's good to have that kind of feedback from you guys and that kind of support. I appreciate it. Let's do it again on Friday. They're going to be in Scotland. So we have SmackDown coming up. I guess that would be taped for us here in the States, but I will be live on Friday night after SmackDown. Not after Clash at the Castle, which is 2 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. I will not be here, but we will have episode 866 of the podcast on Sunday. And you can check out my Clash at the Castle thoughts there. And there's Ed Swoggle Super Chat. Brother. I don't know where I find half these images, but as I've said, if they pop me, I know they'll pop somebody else. So if it's funny to me, it'll be funny to somebody. So until Friday, be well, stay safe. Thank you for all the love. Have yourselves a great night. If you missed TNT, by the way, with myself and JD, we had a 3.5-hour show. We were only going to go 2 hours last night because there really hasn't been that much to talk about. And we ended up going 3.5 hours and probably had the most fun show that we've done so far. And hopefully you'll enjoy it too. So go check that out on his channel. And I will see you back here on this channel on Friday. Base Beerus, thank you for the final super chat. Love you, brother. Have yourselves a great night. I'll see you Friday.